Good afternoon, team. Coach Matt Drinkhahn here. Good to see if your first few people have joined. We will get started here in just a few minutes at 2:05, waiting for the last few people to join. Look forward to seeing you in a few minutes. Good afternoon, friends. Coach Matt Drinkhahn here with Pro Advisor Coach. Glad to be a part of this group today. And as we get kick started, I want to share first, Elaine, thank you for inviting me to speak today. And I'm going to assume that many of the people that are joining us today have come from your invitation. So thank you. And thank you to Cornet Carolina's chapter here in North and South Carolina is a corporate real estate organization that I coach, and we put on a coaching series for the past month since the pandemic began. And that's how I met Elaine, and I believe that several of you may have come through that introduction. So pleasure to meet all of you. No matter where you came from today or why you're here, I'm going to do my very best to add as much value as humanly possible today to every person on the call. And because we have a smaller setting, we have looks like 18 participants right now that are in our room, we will go through this instructor-led event for the next 30 to 45 minutes. And then from there, we'll open it up to Q&A. Everyone is muted right now and is not able to unmute themselves. And no one's able to share a screen except for me right now. So I'm just going to talk for the next 30 or 45 minutes and do the best I can to add value. So just to make sure I'm not talking to myself, can I get a quick thumbs up from those of you with webcams if you can hear me? Okay, thank you, Derek and Elaine and Jack. Okay, great. And for anyone who's not using a webcam, I did see one person earlier who had a webcam on. It looked like they were at the pool. So if that person wants to share their webcam again with the palm trees, that would be totally okay, whoever that was. It said iPhone was the name. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in and get started here today, team. I want to meet everyone where they're at, and I'm not quite sure where everyone on this call is right now in terms of what you want to get from our conversation today. But let's make a couple of assumptions that some of you are graduating from school, from business school, sometime in the near future, looking to land a job out there. Or some of you may have been furloughed or are already looking for a job. Or you're looking to go back and give feedback to someone close to you that's looking for a job. If you fit in any of those boats, or if you're breathing, any of those boats right there, then I've got something of value for you today. So as we dive in and get started, I encourage you to take out a pen and paper, take a couple of notes, some expectations as we get started. First off, if you're new to Zoom and virtual technology like this, I encourage you to do two things. I can see that some of you are on the webcam, and I can see you logged in through your webcam. Most of you are probably logged in through your computer. I would encourage you to dial in on your phone as well. There is a dial-in number, and if you dial in through your phone and you click the link and you're logged in through your computer, that gives you two ways you're logged in. Just in case my internet goes down, or your internet goes down, or the phone system doesn't work. If any of those circumstances happen, we can still have an effective presentation while the internet recovers. Just a good virtual Zoom tip. One time I was on a call like this, and there were several hundred people on it, and my internet went down for like 8 minutes. And it was very embarrassing, and I was a little bit stressed about it. But those people that were also dialed in, they can continue with the presentation because they could hear it. So try to dial in and click the link whenever you're on Zoom technology, my friends. So expectations, it's safe to ask questions and learn here. I'm very transparent. I'll share some very real stories. And I never mean to be condescending or never mean to act like I know it all. I'm going to share things I know from my own personal experience. So I'll be very transparent with those things. Take what's valuable for you. You may have heard some of this coaching or feedback from others in your world. Take what's valuable for you. I'm sure you will gain something of value. And then last but not least, patience with the kiddos and the internet. I've already talked about the internet. Should it be, kind of patchy or slow, then please allow me some patience and grace for that. And should you hear any dinosaur-like sounds, I do have 3 young children who are 4, 3, actually 5, 3 and 1 as of yesterday, 5, 3 and 1, and they're all girls. And I've also got 3 other women in the house. So I've got 6 women in the house and me. And yes, I still have all my hair, and we're having a great day. But please allow me a little bit of patience if the kids tend to get a little bit loud from time to time. Thank you for that. So my goal for today is real simple. The goal is to help you land a job while enhancing your skills and your mindset. That's the simple goal. So next slide, the format of the call. I'm going to share a strategy with you. I'm going to give you some time to take some notes. I'm going to tell a couple of real life practical stories around the strategy. I'm going to give you some questions that you can ask yourself or ask the people that you're working with or interviewing with. And then we'll do some Q&A. Real simple strategy. So to kick things off here, team, let's dive in and get started. First things first. All right, let's get everyone to smile. There are a lot of studies that show that if you are fully engaged and you're paying attention to something, that it will help retain the information much better. So if you have Netflix on in the background, or if you've got your phone and you're texting over here, or you're doing something else, I would encourage you to hone in your attention just for this next 30 or 40 minutes, and I will give you an action-packed series of things that will add a lot of value. But we've got to be in that most engaged state, the most engaged mindset to learn. So I encourage you to get in that place now to learn. So if you're ready to learn, let's go ahead and dive in. Here's the flow of our conversation today. The first thing I'm going to cover are a couple of mindset things that people may be feeling right now, and just kind of get those out of the way, those objections and challenges out of the way first. Second thing, I'm going to go through the 4 bullet points I had on the screen when you got started today, how to prepare, connect, interview, and follow up. And then we'll go to Q&A. That's the flow that we're going to get started today. So to kick things off, let's start off with a little bit of mindset training first. So mindsets. And you can view these as challenges or hindrances, or you can view them as your opportunity to excel, your opportunity to stand out from the crowd. I'm going to encourage you to view these as opportunities. But these are a couple of things I was thinking about that I felt when I was getting out of college, or I felt in any job search, which I've been on the job search 3 times in my career, are things that I've heard from clients right now who are hiring or whose companies have had some type of challenge. These are some of the things that people are thinking. Number one, it's a pandemic and no one's hiring. Well, I'll say that there might be some companies that are slowing down, probably a lot of companies that are slowing down the hiring right now. There might be some freezes going on. But for every company that's having a challenging time hiring right now, I can name several that are having a hiring push right now. So it's not that everyone has slowed down and stopped. There are quite a few hiring. We've got to learn how to look for it. So let's put that mindset to bed. There are people out there hiring. Number 2, your resume experience might be limited. Now, if you're just getting out of school, it's true. Your resume experience might be limited, and you might be inclined to feel that that's going to put you at a loss or a disadvantage to those that have a lot of experience. And maybe it will, but there's a way to frame limited experience that I will show you and walk you through today that you can actually use it to your advantage. So don't use that as a crutch that my resume experience is limited. We can use that to our advantage. Number 3, everyone's applying. I don't have a shot. Well, everyone might be applying right now, but what everyone applying means, in many cases, what that means is that a lot of people are just firing resumes out there to Indeed or to company websites, or letting recruiters do all the work for them and trying to get a job that way. Everyone is applying doesn't mean that everyone is applying skillfully and they're really good at it, or that they're standing out at it. And I want to show you how to stand out from the crowd. So if you feel that everyone's applying, that might be slowing you down. Then let's put that to bed as well, because that doesn't have to be the case. Next, I'll apply tomorrow. I just have to finish this one Netflix series first. Now, I don't know how this might apply to the college-age person who's getting ready to graduate, but I've seen this apply quite a bit in the professional world, where we've got people who are working from home for the first time. We've got people who have this challenge now. They got all this free time on their hands, all this time at home on their hands, and they feel that, I've got to, what, I'll get to it just a little bit later. Well, for every person who's going to get to it a little bit later, there's the go-getter who is getting to it now, who's showing themselves. I'll give you the perfect example of that. And I'm so glad to see the list of names today. There is one person on this call right now, and I'll let that person remain nameless, but there's one person on this call right now who actually reached out to me and connected with me on LinkedIn about a week ago when we found out we were having this. And I want to applaud that person for being proactive. That person is already standing out. They're already taking action. And that person knows who they are. And I'll be happy to chat with that person afterwards, because I think I might have an opportunity for them already. But if you use your mindset and you use the things at your advantage, such as your time, your energy, your ability to control your effort and your attitude, if you do those things to get off the get-go, you give yourself the best chance of getting hired. And then the last one, I'm having trouble finding motivation to go out there and search. I'm having trouble finding motivation to take action. And this is very real. I've seen this one from many of my top clients, from quite a few people, the challenge of find that motivation. What happens? What causes that motivation? What causes that challenge? In many cases, I've found that the challenge is caused by uncertainty of what's going to happen. Uncertainty due to the judgment of other people. And if you've ever felt that way or feel that way now, then pay careful attention because I want to talk to you for 1 second here about your mindset on this next slide. And I know Elaine's seen this one before. This is my favorite quote, and I read it every day when I wake up. And the quote is, I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. It's my personal approach that creates the climate. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de-escalated, and a person is humanized or dehumanized. And there's only two things that we control, each and every one of us, our attitude and our effort. And if our attitude is one that, we're uncertain, we're scared to take action, we have a fear of that, then by all means, please reach out to me on Facebook, instant message me. I'm streaming it live right there right now. Please feel free to reach out to me at Coach Matt Drinkhahn or on LinkedIn at Matt Drinkhahn. Let's have a conversation around it, because this is the part that's scary and that I've had a lot of deep personal conversations around that can really slow us down and hold us back. If you have that anxiety or fear about taking action, then reach out. Talk to someone you trust. Let's work through that, because that can be the most paralyzing, crippling thing. But when you start this process, when you start to really fully engage and prepare, preparation increases certainty. Preparation increases your want and your drive to take action. So let's go ahead and start diving in here, my friends, and taking some action. So to kick things off, here are the steps to landing a job. Prepare, connect, interview, and follow up. Let's go to prepare. Step one. So step one, my first tip for there is to play the long game. I remember back when I first started to apply for jobs when I was graduating from school, I thought I was going to get the dream job. I applied to jobs. I went to Wofford College down in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I graduated in 1999, and I started to apply for jobs that I thought were the dream jobs for me. I applied for jobs at the big banks. I thought that was a dream job for me at the time. I applied for a job at Milliken, which is a big place in Spartanburg. I applied for what I thought were the dream jobs for me at the time. And guess what? Not a single one of them even responded or accepted my applications. So all of a sudden, I didn't find a job right away. I thought that I was screwed. I thought this big education that I partly paid for, my parents partly paid for, I thought the education was going to be out of there. I thought I was in trouble. Then I found the job at the most unusual random places. I found a road sign. On this road sign, it said $11.15 per appointment. And I ended up selling Cutco knives right out of school. Cutco kitchen knives, doing one-on-one in-home presentations. And when I first applied for that job, selling knives, did I think that would be a career? No way. Not a single chance I was going to be doing that. I got this college education. I'm going to go into this big-time job, and it's going to be a piece of cake. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong, because that was the best decision I ever make, is to work for Vector Marketing and Cutco Cutlery. And the reason why? It really trained me for the real world. It turned me and it gave me the foundation of the career that now I own and I do great at now because of what I did then. It was challenging for me. And I wrote down a few of the things. It's hard to remember, as there's so many things that I learned in that first job, but the most important thing is I learned how to connect better with people. I learned how to connect better with real people, real business people, real people in their homes. I learned how to present, how to talk in front of people. I learned how to advertise, how to overcome challenges on a higher level, how to deal with rejection, how to work within a team format, how to work as a business unit on a team, and so many more things, as first a sales representative and then as a branch and district manager. So all these things I learned in the most unlikely of places. So what may be your dream job right now, in your mind, it's this certain thing up on this pedestal, but I encourage you to play the long game right now. And instead of looking for the dream job, look for this. Look for a good leader that you can learn from right now, and you can fine tune and hone your skills. Because I tell you what, when you find the right people to learn with now and to grow your skills now, it'll pay off for you. Maybe not right now in day one, week one, year one out of school, but the skills you develop now will pay off down the road. So playing the long game. So continuing, I put create a compelling narrative, and this is real fun. You probably have someone, I see some people on here I think are students or getting ready to graduate. So I imagine that you probably have someone as a career counselor, guidance counselor, someone that can coach you on creating a resume and cover letter. So I'm not going to go too deep into creating resumes and cover letters. I will share one thing about a resume. And for those of you that haven't looked at my LinkedIn profile and my background, I've interviewed tens of thousands of people and hired a couple thousand people that have worked for me, and done over $100 million in sales in the companies that I've served or run. So in all of that, I've seen few things on a resume that really are pet peeves, and a few things that really, really stand out. So let me give you an insight. Before I ever started working in the real world, I felt that I had this college job of waiting tables. Well, you know what? That is a real world job, my friends, and it has real world, very practical skills. So if you've ever waited tables, which that's all I did before I got out of school, was wait tables and sell knives. That was it, right? When it comes to waiting tables, you can put on your resume waiting tables, but it's not a very compelling narrative. You could put on your resume something like this, and I'm going to read the notes I made on a resume that someone sent to me one time who paid for school waiting tables. This is what they said. They said, was responsible for serving approximately 24 tables of 4, or approximately 96 customers a night, 5 nights a week, 40 weeks a year, for 4 years to pay for college. Basically served 76,000 people in 4 years while maintaining rapport with 4 other servers at a time, 1 general manager, 2 assistant managers, and various personalities of custodians and cooks. And that really caught my attention. That, by the way, I hired that person. They were one of the top performers I ever hired. And they had a resume of waiting tables, but they gave a compelling narrative of the real world skills that they learned as a result of that. If you see the difference between waited tables and the specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound things, the smart details that person gave, you can see that there's a big difference in the narrative. So creating that compelling narrative. I'm not saying that just putting down waiting tables or putting down internship at a bank or whatever that might be, internship at CBRE or some corporate real estate company. I'm not saying that it's boring or bad or too general to put that down. The goal here is to stand out for the crowd. It's to stand out and to help you land a job now. So to do that, we've got to do a little bit more in our resume than simply put general vague information. Never would I ever say lie on a resume or fabricate things. Give real stats and real details of what you've done that shows that you're good with people, that you're a learner, and that you're someone that works hard. If you can tell that compelling narrative, that might be enough to put you to the top of the resume pile compared to every other person who's looking for a job. And many times that's all that you need, is something that stands out and tells a compelling narrative. Okay? So give some color to your resume and make it stand out. Now the last one down here, practice, practice, practice. Practice. So talking to a big company, big corporation this morning on this, I actually gave them this presentation right here on this slide about how to practice and sharpen your skills. Because there are skills right now that each and every one of you can own that can help you in this job search and standing out. What might some of those skills be? Well, the first one, I wrote down, know your pitch. And in your world, what that might mean is, what do you want to do? That's what everyone is going to ask you. What are you looking for? What do you want to do? And if the first word out of your mouth is, you've already lost. You've got to have a more compelling answer than that. And how many times when someone reaches out to me right now for a referral and they're saying they're looking for me to refer them to a job, next thing I ask is, what are you looking to do next? And if their answer is anything other than, I'm looking to go to a company and do this and this and this, or I'm looking to learn these skills, if I hear an answer that has certainty, then I'm more likely to pass that referral along. I'm more likely to want to hire that person. But if the answer is, and they're not sure, well, guess what? Your uncertainty will be doubled over on me and my uncertainty. But your certainty on the job hiring person will cause their certainty to skyrocket. So what do you practice? Let's keep it real simple. If someone asks you, what do you do? What do you want to do? What are you looking for? You've got to have an answer for that. And it's got to be something that you have some certainty. You don't have to know exactly what division of what company and what your next whole career is going to be, but you could say something like this. What exactly I want to do? Well, I tell you this. I want to work in a team. I want to be around a high-performing group of individuals I can learn from. I want to go in there and give my very best effort that's possible. Those are the things I want to do. Where I might do that, I'm starting off by looking into corporate real estate. I'm starting off to looking into big banks. I'm starting off by looking into even applying at my college to work there. Those are the 3 places I've thought of applying. Those are the kind of skills I'm looking to develop. So at least if you have some beginning answer to start with, it gives you a foundation. But if you start with, that's the first word, then we're in trouble. Right? So have something compelling to begin with. Practice, practice, practice. So what do we practice? Here are things I would encourage you to jot down these 4 things. These are the 4 things that will help you to stand out from any crowd, any interviewee, when you've got these 4 things nailed. Number 1, what you're looking for. So I'll give you a perfect example. If someone were to ever say to me, Matt, what do you do? Now let's translate it into real world terms. If they were to say, Matt, what do you do? If I said, I'm a business coach, we're not really much to go with that. Not much I can do with that. They don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. From there, it's really an uncomfortable silence. But if someone asks, what do I do? Right now, I say, this is exactly verbatim what I say. I'll do whatever it takes, as long as I don't lose my integrity, to help you and your company grow and have explosive growth. I develop and train leaders, and I help teams reach their potential. I'm a business coach. Who do you use for coaching right now in your team? That's what I say every time someone asks me, what do you do? And if I happen to know a little bit more about the people, if I happen to know that they work within an organization where I already coach someone, or across the country, they work in an organization that I know that, I work with people in financial services at a high level, all the major companies and tech and IT. If I know someone like that, then I'll drop names of companies. I'll drop that, I coach on a high level with a lot of financial services companies. I'll drop names of companies I work with within companies like Red Hat or Google or Oracle. I'll drop names of companies I work with. I'll just go back to, working with CoreNet here, which is how I met Elaine, which is how in front of our students and our people today. I'll be happy to share the information about who I work with. And I think that being able to have a pitch, if someone asks what you're looking for, that's the equivalent once you're already out here for a while, what do you do, right? So what you're looking for, be able to talk about what you're looking for. Second thing, 3 to 5 stories of your values in action. 3 to 5 stories of your values in action. So when I give you an example of 3 to 5 stories of your values in action, my values, I put them up here on the wall, right up here in front of me. I'm hungry for progress. Do what I say I'm going to do. Massive action with pure intent for the betterment of people. Those are values of mine. I want to be able to tell stories that illustrate those values. The waiting tables example on the resume, that's a really good example of being able to tell a narrative, tell a story. If someone asks, well, tell me a little bit about you and what you're about. I'm really all about hard work. To illustrate that point, let me give you an example. If I worked hard in school, or if somebody asked me now, tell me a little bit about Matt. Now, I'm really all about my family. I'm part of a group right here. The group I'm a part of is called Front Row Dads. We're family men first who happen to run businesses, and I spend as much time as humanly possible with my kids. They're the joy of my life, right? So be able to tell some very compelling stories or narratives, 3 to 5 stories that show your values in action. We will elaborate on this exact point when we get to step 3, the interview. But being able to tell some stories of your values in action. Being able to practice your greeting. Your greeting, a firm, confident handshake if you're back to seeing people live in the flesh. I don't even know if we're back to live in the flesh yet. I think we might be this weekend coming out of shelter in place in the Carolinas. I'm not really sure. I don't watch the news too much. I think it's shelter in place until the 8th. You can start going out in public or something. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to make an assumption that you can either shake someone's hand or virtually you can meet them. Either way, your greeting is very important over the phone or face-to-face. So practicing your greeting, a confident greeting. Practicing your farewell or goodbye, a confident goodbye. Those are things you can practice. Those are things you can practice with a career counselor. You can practice with your parents, assuming that they may be employed. If you have a relationship with them, practice with them. Practice with some other friend or trusted partner of yours on your greeting and your farewell. Those are a few things to practice. Let's go on to step 2. Step 2 is connect. I wrote down here, the interview begins now. This is very interesting to me sometimes because I did get a little bit of information on the one person that did actually reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect with me before we started today. I checked that person out on LinkedIn and Googled them. And yes, if you are looking to work with someone who might be between the ages of 35 and 55 years of age, where a lot of hiring managers are in that age range nowadays, if you're looking for someone in that range, who might hire you, one of the first things they're going to do when they see your name or resume, if it's even remotely interesting, is they're going to Google you. They might even LinkedIn you, not connect with you, just look at you on LinkedIn and see what kind of profile you have. And when that one person on this call, when they went to LinkedIn and they looked at me, within a few minutes, I have an instant notification on my LinkedIn. I have a premium account. So whenever someone looks at my profile, I know it, right? And I go Google them pretty instantly, just to see who they are. Because I'm looking for hires myself, right? So I'm looking to see who this person might be. And that person reached out to me with a personal message. I reached back out, and now we're connected. So right now, your interview's already begun. If you let the world know that you're graduating or that you are looking for a role, the interview's already begun by your virtual profile out there. And it's on LinkedIn, and it's on Facebook. And a lot of your stuff could be private on those places. But there is a public profile picture. And to be frank with you, if there's no profile picture, if it's just a blank screen, or if it's you and 3 fraternity brothers, sorority sisters, and you still got your college sunglasses on, you got a Corona in your hand, first of all, get rid of all mentions of anything Corona from now on. No offense to anyone working in that company. I used to love Corona, but for now I'm going to pause on that. And I would encourage you to get a professional picture up, something that shows you at a networking event, at a career fair, in a job, something that shows you professional. Put that on anything public facing while you're in the midst of a job search, because people could hold it against you if one picture doesn't look great. So that's what I mean by the interview begins now. Number 2, leverage your school and your network. I'd like to share with you a quick story on leveraging your school and your network. I work with a client who went to Texas A&M down in middle of Texas, and when she graduated from Texas A&M, she went into her network, started reaching out to a bunch of people, and when she did, she was able to find her first job through that network of people there. And as a matter of fact, she still goes back to that network of people nowadays and is one of the most prominent financial advisors in Texas. And she does that, so I'm still keeping in touch with that network. Personally, for me, when the pandemic began, around March 25th-ish, when people started to get anxious around here in the Carolinas and it became a little more challenging, I started to reach out to every person that I knew personally. The Facebook people that I knew, the LinkedIn people I knew. I started to reach out to a bunch of people that I knew. I think I may have shared this story with Elaine already. But since March 25th, I've reached out to 948 people that are in my own network. And I already have a job. And I'm not looking for more clients necessarily. My company is doing well, but I reached out to people to check and see, how are you? How are you adapting? How's your family? Real simple. By leveraging your network with questions like that and reaching out to people that and just keeping in touch, that's something they'll remember. But if you want to add the job search to it, then here is how we might be able to frame that. And I'm going to go real slowly here and say this 3 times in case you're taking notes. I didn't type it on the screen. So here it goes. I might reach out like this if I'm reaching out with the intent of trying to leverage my network to find a job. I might say this: I'm graduating and I'm headed into the real world looking to find a job where I can serve a company, be a great teammate, develop my skills along the way. I'd like to talk for a few minutes and pick your brain on my job search. Would that be okay? I'm graduating. I'm headed into the real world looking to find a job where I can serve a company, be a great teammate, and develop my skills along the way. I'd like to talk for a few minutes and pick your brain on the job search. Would that be okay? One more time, I'll go in more real speed. If I were saying this to someone, this might be it. I'm graduating. I'm headed in the real world looking to find a job where I can serve a company, be a great teammate, develop my skills along the way. I'd like to talk for a few minutes and pick your brain on the job search. Would that be okay? So that approach right there, a percentage of people that are going to respond to that. 100%? Well, if you reach out to 3 people, you have a good chance that 3 people will probably respond to you if they're your 3 best friends. But if you take that approach and you reach out to more people in your network, you'll find you're going to come across things you didn't expect. So to give you an example, to give you some statistics. Now, I didn't track my stats to give you the percentages since the last couple of weeks when I gave you the stat, but I can tell you this. The first 628 people that I reached out to in the first 4 weeks of the pandemic, just to ask them how they're doing. How are you? How's your family? How are you adapting? If you want to chat or connect in any way, I'd love to lend a listening ear or talk to you about anything around life or business. If you'd like to connect, reach back out to me. I sent that exact message word to word to 648 people in my Facebook network and LinkedIn network. First degree connections, people I already know. I had a total of 182 people respond to that. That's 29% reach back out to me. And out of those 29%, out of those 182 people, that generated 47 conversations. 47 conversations. And out of that, 27 of those did exactly just that. We just connected. We just talked. That was all it was, just talk. I listened, shared, listened, good conversation. 20 of them became real legitimate business prospects. 13 of them I handed off to others on my team. 7 of them are legitimate prospects for me and where I am in my business now. I did not go in with the first primary direct to get business. I went in to help serve people, to talk to people. In your mission right now, to stand out from the crowd, land a job, you have 2 parts if you're leveraging your network. Number 1 is to reach out to people to check and see how they're doing. And number 2 is to ask for them for their opinion on your job search. That's it. Those 2 things. Check in on them and see how they're doing in the job and see if you can ask for their opinion in the job search. People love to be in the position of expert. They love to hear when someone positions them as an expert. They want to hear your opinion. Others love to give their opinion. It's human nature to want to feel important and share your opinion. And I am certain that everyone will have an opinion. That doesn't mean you take advice from everyone. It simply means that you're able to accept opinions from people. All right. So one last story here, my friends, is the numbers game. If your antennas are up, you just heard some numbers, and the numbers I share with you, the numbers of people that I've reached out to. That wasn't to impress you or to wow you. That was simply data. That was what I've done. It's been about 20 people a day, and I started off with much more numbers than that, but I got quickly too busy, right? Your job right now is to find a job, and to find a job, this is a hand-to-hand numbers game, my friends. I'll give you the perfect business real-world example. Let's just say that Michael Jordan and I stepped up to the free throw line. We get 10 free throws each, and we go head-to-head 10 times. Who's going to make the most free throws? Guess what? He's probably going to beat me 10 times out of 10 or close to it. But you know what? If Michael Jordan steps up to the line and shoots 10 free throws, and I step up and shoot 100 free throws, in that time, I'm going to beat him because I'm going to take a lot more shots. And guess what else is going to happen? In that time, I'm going to learn what works and what doesn't work. So I'm going to get better at shooting, right? So to give the real world parallel, there are people in the real world that already have the jobs right now that don't feel the need to practice their game. And you are learning and you're new at this right now and fresh. So your mindset is not completely stuck on one thing. You can still learn. Learn to get better as you go along, as you shoot more and more and more free throws. But it is a numbers game, my friends. So to wrap this slide up, it's not about just one person I reach out to. That's the golden goose, the one person. Sure, you might have one golden goose up your sleeve. You could have an ace in the hole right there. That's great if you do. I hope you all do. But if you don't, and I assume, I'm not always making an assumption that people don't. If we don't, then let's reach out to as many people as we can. And let's reach out with empathy, compassion, and help make them the expert. They can offer you their opinion. All right, so moving on to slide number 3, the interview. So when we talk about the interview here, the first contact with someone, whether it's through email, text, over the phone, some message that comes computer generated, whatever it is, I much appreciate you taking the time to invest with me today. Thank you so much. It's genuine appreciation is the first thing that's got to come in and out of any message you send is genuine, heartfelt appreciation. You better mean it. You better mean it, right? So heartfelt, genuine appreciation. I like to add a little something on top, and this is just my personality. It may not be yours, but I would encourage you to think about what this might do for you were you to add this. I want to say thank you. I appreciate taking time to invest with me and reach out to me. Thanks so much. I'm excited to meet and get to know you and get to know more about your company. That's it. I'm excited to get to know more about you and more about your company. Thanks for investing the time with me today. Genuine appreciation goes a long way. So I think that's a great place to start with the first contact. I don't know if you're going to go too overboard if you go much deeper than that. but my personality is such where, thanks for taking the time to invest in our conversation today and reach back out to me. I greatly appreciate it. I'm excited about getting to know you and getting to know more about your company culture. I'm also looking to contribute, to learn, and be a part of a great team. So whenever you're ready to connect, I'm looking forward to it. And that might be something I'd add in there because that's my personality. But you've got to be genuine to you and show that appreciation on the first contact. Now, part 2, hungry, humble, and smart. About 5 years ago, I read a book by Patrick Lencioni. He's a good author. He's got several books out there. I'd encourage you to take a look at them. Patrick Lencioni wrote a book called The Ideal Team Player, talking about how to recruit and find the right people for the team. So I use this in my coaching practice and talking about how to ask the right interview questions and how to find and recruit the right people. If you reverse engineer it and you want to become the right person, then think about how you can give this image and portray that you are hungry, you're humble, and you're smart. Smart with people, I mean, right? So think about whatever those core values are that you want to portray, and you want to write those down. And by the way, friends, this is the extra credit stuff that you've always heard about in college and in high school and all these schools you've been to your whole life, the extra credit stuff. Yeah, this is the extra credit stuff, and now you're going to get paid more in the real world for doing it. The extra credit is actually writing down right now, what are those values? What are those things you want to be known for? And then being able to craft out and write out the stories you want to be able to share when you're in the interview process, when you're in that interview process. So I'll give you an example. Once again, I'm going back to the example of waiting tables because this is one of the most impressive people that I ever hired. And this is part of what they gave to me in their interview, in their resume, and in their story. So to give you the example of showing how you're hungry and you're willing to add value, this is what someone said to me who used to wait tables. They said the following. I'm going to read it to you. I wrote it down. It was amazing. When I was waiting tables, one thing I always wanted to show off was my work ethic. And I was really hungry to improve. So this is what I did. I saw I was getting dessert orders on approximately 22% of my tickets. And I wanted to increase that to 35%. On a $70 tab, that would make an increase of $12 or about 17% increase on each bill. If I increase the bill by 17% on 1 out of every 10 tables that I worked, then I can increase my revenue by $28 a night, $140 a week, $5,600 a year, or over $23,000 over the time that I worked in college. And that was only one server working on one skill. I did that across several skills. And then this person went on to name the skills that they did, including recruiting other high quality servers to the team. That person is definitely getting a job because that person was able to share in articulate detail a story that really illustrated their work ethic. Now, I mean to bust a bubble, but everyone that comes to an interview ever says, I'll work harder than everyone ever. Everybody says that, which means that if you say that, it's not making you stand out. What makes it stand out is the detail that you give that backs it up. So give that detail. Give that detail of how you do work harder than everyone else. And it's okay. I don't want to be braggadocious about it. It's not braggadocious. It's not I'm bragging about it. It's you're sharing the details that illustrate your work ethic. That's it. So hungry, humble, and smart. When you see that bullet point right there, that's simply meant to convey, find out the values. Write down the values that you want to portray to people. Write those values down. And then craft your story so you can give that story. Allow yourself a little bit of grace on your stories, my friends. Sometimes you start practicing and you get tongue-tied. You might even get tongue-tied in an interview. I get tongue-tied. I mean, I got tongue-tied speaking on stage right before this pandemic started. I was on stage in front of a few hundred people. I got tongue-tied and kind of went blank for a second there. It happens sometimes. It's really not that big of a deal. It just means you get to practice more. So let's continue moving forward here. Face-to-face. So I wrote down the words face-to-face here. I'm not really sure if you're going to be face-to-face in the flesh shaking hands or you're going to be face-to-face virtually. But one thing I'd like you to all take away from this face-to-face part is to be mindful of the details. So if you're face-to-face in the flesh, be mindful of the fingernails, the shoes, the suit or shirt or the clothing that you're wearing. Be mindful of your teeth. The tiny details make a big difference. When it comes to a resume, here's a great thing. That's really all you can give someone on a sheet of paper that says who you are. If there is one misspelling on a resume, that person is not making it to the next screening. I've had people that had the best looking resume that misspell the word. If you are that lackadaisical of paying attention to your own resume and you misspell a word, then you're not getting it. Someone once said to me, Matt, you misspelled something on your PowerPoint. Well, I'm not a PowerPoint expert. I'm not looking for a job. You're looking for a job, and your resume is the doorway. And if you misspell something, then that's on you. You're not making it past the next step. So let's make sure that the resume, the clothing, the look, the teeth, everything, the hair. Well, not everyone has hair in this call. That's okay, Jack. And Derek, you have ample amount of hair. But I can say this. I have a lot of hair right now. I haven't had a haircut in probably 6 weeks. If I were looking for a job right now, I might go get the haircut. Or I might just say in the beginning, I didn't want to go out and pay for a black market haircut right now, so this is what you get. But I promise you, on the day one of work, if I need to get a haircut, I'd be the first to shave my head if this is the right company for me. Anyways, let's keep going. Face-to-face, control the details. The last thing, questions to ask. A lot of interviewers, I'd say probably 75, 85% of them are going to ask you if they're still interested in you by the time it gets to this part in the interview. They're going to ask, what questions do you have for me? Oh, this is great. You can stand out so much from the crowd with this right here. So I actually took the time to type these out on the screen for you. Here they are. These are questions that I would coach you to ask when you're there in the interview process. Number one, if I'm on the team and we look back in a year from now and say, Samantha was I don't know Samantha, I see Derek though. Derek was a smashing success in this role. Then what would need to have happened for you to say that, Mr. Hiring Manager? If we look back in a year from now, Elaine, and you hired me and you said that Matt was a smashing success in this role, then what would have need to have happened for you to say that to me? That is a couple things. A, it invites them to think of hiring you and what it looks like when you're successful in the role. And it tells you exactly what you would need to do to be successful in the role, right? So good question to ask there. I want to invite them to think about hiring me, right? So that's number one. Number two, what are the biggest challenges you foresee for someone in this role? They'll have an answer. If you were coaching me on how a top performer would overcome those, what practical advice would you offer? I want to hear what they think about under adversity. They've been asking me interview questions for the last 30 or 45 minutes. I want to turn it back and see how they would coach me to respond underneath adversity. That can give me some insight on how to follow up with them. And it can give me some insight on how to work for them when the time comes, or if I even want to work for them. Number three, what are the greatest strengths of your team and what are the areas your team can most work on to improve? Kind of a vanilla question, but it helps you to understand where they view the strengths and weaknesses of their team are, if they're willing to answer it, even if they even know, if they've thought about it. And number four, would you please help me understand the interview process here, what the next steps look like? Now, there are a lot of different ways to ask this last question. You can do it very cocky and kind of arrogant. You can be more passive and indirect. I think this is somewhere in the middle. Just asking them what the interview process looks like and the decision-making process and what's next. So I leave it at that. That's kind of middle of the road, the way you might ask that. But I always want to understand that, especially for those of you who are in sales or who go into sales at some point in your career, understanding the decision-making process from the mouth of the decider is one of the most important things I could ever teach you. If you take anything from this conversation today, I hope it's that. How to understand the decision-making process. You've got to ask about it. You've got to ask about it because it helps you understand how they think. Okay, so those are some questions to ask. And I'll send this to Elaine. I'll email this to Elaine. So if some of you do or did come from that conversation with Elaine or from David or Corey, then by all means, I'll send this to them today and they can forward it out to you. Or you can connect with me on Facebook or on LinkedIn and ask you, and I'll just send it to you. But I want you to have these questions because these are important questions. Last thing, step 4, the follow-up. All right, follow-up. When I moved from Boston to Charlotte in 2011, I got hired by a company, Time Warner Cable Business Class, to build an outside sales organization. And to do that, I had to go hire people. And I could wait on the hiring people and the recruiters to do that, and they were very helpful. I loved all the people that tried to help that way. That was great. But I can also share that being able to go out and hire people and find people being able to hire people and find people for the role, there are some key things I'm looking for as the hiring manager. One of those things, when I did that, I interviewed about 50 people for 10 jobs, and that was in the Christmas season of 2011. And the first 3 people I hired, they had something stunning in common. Number one, there was a man named Norman Latva who came in. I never met him, but I knew his wife. And she heard I was looking, so I reached out to her. She said, "Consider my husband. He's great." I was like, "Okay, well, I'll listen," because I trusted her. I interviewed him. He did a pretty good interview. But the next thing that happened was I got a thank you note of appreciation the next day, because he took that, he dropped it in the company's mailbox as he left the building. He actually thanked me before he left the building, and I got it the next day. I was super impressed with that. He was the first person I hired for that team. The second person I hired for that team was Jennifer Brinsfield. Jennifer did the same exact thing. And maybe she even heard this from Norman, because they're in the same social network. But I interviewed her later that same day. I got a note from her in the mail a couple days later. I hired her. Cindy Tunis, same thing. I look back to nearly every person I hired in that organization at Time Warner of the 3 years I was there, and I think every person wrote me a thank you note. And if you're interviewing with someone, like I mentioned earlier, someone who's around my age, around 35, or maybe up to 55 or 60, people that are older than 35 still appreciate the art of the handwritten letter, the handwritten note. So write it, not even thinking about it. Go so far, and I'm deadly serious about this, go so far as to go to your interview with your thank you card in your car, or have them in your desk drawer right now. Or if you don't have thank you cards, get out loose leaf paper even, and write it that same day without hesitation, as soon as that interview's over with, and put it in the mail that day. Or if you go to someone's office to interview, take it with you in your car, go down to your car, save time afterwards, and write it there in the car, and drop it in the mailbox in the parking lot of that building right there. If you want to impress someone, an email is okay. I think probably 70 or 80% of people send a follow-up email within a day or 3. But very few still send the handwritten thank you card. You will stand out from the crowd when you do that. Okay, so that's the thank you note. When you agreed, number 2, when you agreed, you asked the question in the interview what the decision-making hiring process looks like. You asked them what the timeline is to hear back on a decision. So you should understand what that looks like, because the hiring manager told you what it looks like. They may have given you a very specific answer by Friday. They may have said, I'm taking applications this month and I'll reach out by the end of the month. When I hear that, that means May 30th in my mind, right? So whenever you agreed that the decision-making process moves forward with or without you, whatever that process looks like, follow up in that timeline. Whenever it was agreed, the decision-making process looks like. It could be the thing that shows, especially if you're in a role that requires follow-up. This shows you in action of how you actually do it. This is you applying for the job again by showing your actions, doing what you say you're going to do. That's when you agreed. Now, upon the hire, when you get hired, I wrote down reach out. Not only should you reach out to the person that hired you, if you get it done by email, by letter, by phone, write another thank you card to that person, yes. And any person, this is important, any person in your entire network that you reached out to and had a conversation or got a response from, anybody that responded to you, take that night or the next couple of days and type them an independent personal message and say, hey, Janine, I just wanted to say thank you for that conversation we had, the time we invested in the job search. I just wanted to follow up and let you know that I got hired for a job over at blah, 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 and just wanted to thank you for taking the time. It was great to connect with you. Look forward to connecting in the future. Something like that. And that, my friends, is how you button up the entire job search process. So, oh, and by the way, reach out to me too. So I'd love to hear how you got the job and love to hear that story and have a conversation around it. And that could be fun. So team, that's going to conclude the facilitator-led portion. I went about 9 minutes over what I expected, but I appreciate you sticking with me and listening. What I'm going to do now, is I'm going to invite you to chat to me any questions you may have. In fact, let's do this. First, if you look on the screen, you can see I put on my handles on the screen. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to connect with anyone here on Facebook when it comes to my business Facebook page, Coach Matt Drinkhahn, on LinkedIn, Matt Drinkhahn, on Instagram, Coach_Drink, on Twitter, @mdrinkhahn, And my email address is down there, I believe. No, I put the company's website. Our company website is www.proadvisorcoach.com. We've been in business for nearly 20 years. We've coached hundreds of thousands of executives and people in their businesses. And I've been a part of the company for 6 years now, and maintain a great relationship with the CEO. We'd love to hear from you there too. So that's how you can reach us. But I'd like to go into some Q&A chat time. And what I'm going to do is invite you to do this in one of two ways. I'm going to turn off the screen here, and now we're just on the webcams here. I'm going to invite you to do a couple things. You can chat with me by typing a message. I've got it set up so only the message comes straight to me. So you can type in a question, or if you'd like to, be brave here and you'd like to go ahead and ask a question, then I can unmute. You can just raise your hand. I'll unmute you, and you can ask a question. Either way is fine by me. I think we already have one in here. Let me see what it is here. What are some tips if the interview is actually online? Anything different from face-to-face? Good question. So a couple thoughts around that one. If the interview is online as opposed to face-to-face, I think that takes away the whole thought about the good handshake and the whole firm eye contact and hold their elbow, all that stuff. And instead, here's what I encourage you to do. If you're having an online interview with someone, if it is virtual, I would encourage you to invite them. If you like to do it virtually through Zoom or Facebook or whatever, FaceTime, whatever way is best for you, Mr. Hiring Manager, I'd love to do a face-to-face interview. If the phone is the way you prefer, I do it that way too, whatever's best for you. So I would encourage you to invite them to do it like this, because I don't care where you are on a webcam, if you're comfortable or not comfortable with it, you will give them a better impression over the face-to-face. Because it's more real, it's more genuine. You can actually see them, and people want to see you before they hire you. So I would encourage you to do that. Now, if you don't do that, if it's over the phone, that doesn't mean you can't find a job over the phone. You certainly can. That happened a lot in the real world before this all happened, the whole pandemic thing. But I want to give you an advantage to stand out from the crowd. And to do that, I've found you can stand out more by being face-to-face. So I would encourage you to shoot for face-to-face, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it is. And if you do get a Zoom invite, or Blue Jeans, or Join Me, or GoToMeeting, or any of those, I would encourage you to go online and practice first on those for half an hour, because you can do that. You can go practice most of all of those virtual technologies. You can get a free account and practice for half an hour way before your interview, and make sure you're doing it right. And when you do that, you can actually see in your webcam all the stuff that's going on. Oh, and if you're hearing the dinosaurs in the background right now, I apologize. They're sweet, aren't they? But I apologize if you're hearing kids. So in any event, I would encourage you to look at your webcam. Like, for those of you that can see yourself in the webcam right now, take a look at it. Take a look at your background and see what story does that tell about you. Now, for me, I have a little bit of flamboyance. I always like to keep my Superman head cover for my driver right over here. And that generally has a couple conversations that come up as a result of it. I'm not saying put your golf clubs in the background, but I like to have something in the background that says something about you. So you probably have something professional looking on, or you look nice. Maybe there's one thing you can put behind you that makes it look good. All right, just to pay attention to the background. Anything more specific than pay attention to your background, I don't know exactly what to say. Because I don't know what looks great in a background. I know what doesn't look great. I know that if you're on the beach and the sun is behind you and can't see you, that's bad, right? I know that if your background is such that there's all kinds of clutter and junk and stuff everywhere, that's probably not great in the interview process until they get to know you. I wouldn't let them into everything in the background, right? In fact, everyone I'm looking at right now, your backgrounds all look fine for the interview. They all look good. They all look good, right? So that would be the question. Anything different? Yeah, that would be the question. How should I initially reach out to a company recruiter? Great question. So when it comes to the company recruiter, a couple thoughts on that. First, if I'm going to reach out to a company, let's say the company CBRE, for example, since we're talking real estate and many people on this call, I imagine. If the company CBRE, what I'm going to do, if I see where there is a job posting somewhere, I'm going to do my darndest to find out who that hiring manager might be. If I can find out who the hiring manager is, then I'm going to look at my LinkedIn network and I'm going to see, who knows that hiring manager. Do I have any connections to that person? If I can't find who the hiring manager is, then I'm going to go ahead and see, does there anyone that actually know that is inside that company? And I might start, if those of you who are in college at College of Charleston, I might start with Elaine. I might say, Elaine, because she is the director of the real estate school. I might say, Elaine, who do we know inside of CBRE? And you know what she might do? She might say, well, I know the CoreNet organization. Let me see if I can connect you with them. That might lead to a connection with Trip. And then Trip can lead you straight to the CBRE person, Christopher. So if you're looking to impress the company, find a way to get to them through an introduction to them. It stands out from the crowd if you do a little bit of extra work to get to them that way. Now, if the person that you reach out to, really well in your personal network, and they'll vouch for you to give you an introduction to the hiring manager, that's even better. That goes a long way. I can tell you that majority of people that I've hired have been people that have come to me from my own personal network, people that have come to me through a favorable introduction, or people that have done a little bit of extra work to get to me. And they can show that. They talk about that in the interview process. So I would go out of my way to try to figure out who the hiring managers might be, try to figure out a connection to them somehow, some way. If you can find that, that puts you one step ahead of the curve. If you don't have any of that, you don't have that connection to someone inside the company you want to work at, that's okay too. That's okay too. How would you find that person then? If I were going to go after it and try to find that person, what I would do is I would probably type up a fantastic cover letter that would probably have some type of hungry, humble, smart, some type of mention of my qualities, and maybe a quick story in there that illustrates those. And I would send that to that person directly. Has anyone ever seen, there's a movie, and some of you are younger than me, so you may not have seen this. There was a movie back in the 80s called Wall Street. Anybody ever seen that movie, Wall Street? Raise your hand. I know Jack's raising his hand. Derek has. Elaine has. Oh, Andrew has. Great. I mean, it's a brilliant movie. Charlie Sheen played a role in there where he tried to land the elephant, which was Gordon Gekko, played by Michael Douglas. And he called Gordon Gekko's office every day for 57 straight days. And finally, he was able to charm his way into getting an appointment, or at least coming into the office with the executive assistant, and he finally met Gordon Gekko. So I would not just reach out once to someone if I don't hear from them when it's in the job search world. Because if you reach out once, I mean, there's some type of meme or gift out there that talks about you reach out once, people don't respond, twice they don't respond, 3 times they don't respond, 4 times they don't. And like 84% of sales are made on the 5th attempt or later. I'll give you the perfect example. I don't think this is that bad. I think it's kind of funny, actually. When I first met Julie, the lady that I'm married to, when I first met Julie at a networking event in of 2012, I asked her if she wanted to go have a cocktail with me. She said no. And then later on the same networking event, I said, have you been thinking about it? Would you like to go have that cocktail now? She said no. And then I asked her again, and she said this. I'll never forget this. If you stop asking me, I'll have one with you. Will you stop asking? I said, yeah. And then we had a great time. So I think that's kind of funny. I didn't get a lot of smiles on that one. Elaine didn't smile. Samuel didn't smile. Thank you for the courtesy chuckle, team. Thanks very much. I'm thinking about that with jest, but also there's some reality to it. That if you truly are persistent, pleasantly persistent, you'll reach out more than once. But the question is, should you initially reach out to them? It's find a way in by someone you know. Find a way to get introduced in, number one. If you're unable to do that, number two is find a way to stand out in the interview, like in the process of reaching out to them. The cover letter is one way. I've done one thing one time. Actually, I'll give you 2 stories of how I landed clients. This is real life stuff here of how I've landed clients that supposedly weren't taking my calls. One time I landed a client by sending them a FedEx. In the FedEx, I marked them, put their name at the very top, the director, blah, blah, right? Their name, the director, and they opened it up, and inside of it was a Willy Wonka chocolate bar and a golden ticket. And printed on the golden ticket was their name, and I said on the golden ticket, you have earned the right to talk to this person. And I had a note around it, and it said, hey, I hope this finally caught your attention. I've been trying to reach out. If you'll accept my call, I'd love to accept it at some time. And they reached back out to me, and I got a deal out of it. So something that can stand out and put a smile on someone's face, that can stand out as going above and beyond the extra mile, that's what will stand out from the crowd. And that is your job numero uno, before they even know who you are, is to stand out for the crowd, right? That's it. And since we're such an intimate setting, I'll just go ahead and call it out. That is why I was so impressed by Andrew when he reached out to me a few days ago, is because he went proactive and reached out to me, right? That's the person that I'm looking for. who's proactive, who reaches out. And since Andrew, is it okay if I tell the story? I already did kind of, so I hope it's okay. You know, I was so impressed that he reached out. Professional LinkedIn profile photo, number one. Number two, a buttoned up, tightened resume / internship history on his LinkedIn profile. I like to take great ideas and build on top of them. He had a great idea to reach out to me. How he might build on that for next time, and how any of you might build on this in your job search. If you find out who the hiring manager is, go to LinkedIn. I think you might have to have a premium account to do what I'm about to describe. I'm not sure if you do it on a free account or not. But if you go to LinkedIn and you go and send that person what's called an in-mail, which is basically a cold blind email, right, through LinkedIn. If you send them an in-mail and say something like this, you know, Samuel, I saw that you had a job posting and your company is the one that I would love to work with. You know, I'm hungry, I'm tenacious, you know, I'm a fire starter that gets things going. I've got a history to show that. My resume may be light, but my real life experience and skills are heavy, you know, and I'd love to be a part of the team, at least be introduced to the process. You know, would you be open to connecting with me here and guiding me on how to get involved in the interview process? Send that message to every hiring manager. If you're not able to get a one-on-one direct personal communication with them or a personal intro to them, send that message through LinkedIn to every person that's a hiring manager that you want to interview with and see what happens. If you send it to 3 people, maybe you'll get a response. If you send it to 50 people, yeah, I said it right, 50 people, then I bet you're going to get some responses from that, because guess what's not happening? They're not getting that message from everyone else. Now, it begs the question. People think that, oh man, that the job market's tightened up. A lot more people are applying for the jobs. I mean, maybe. My experience has led me to believe that people in general are lazy. And for every person that thinks that everyone else is applying for the job, I'll tell you what, there's probably 10 people who aren't doing anything. You know, they're just sitting there thinking that no one else is applying and that everyone else has already done this, so it's not worth my time to do it. Those of you who take the action, take the offense, and go after it like that LinkedIn example, I'd encourage you to do that. Okay, so let's see. Next question. If the company chooses to hire another interviewee, is it appropriate to ask if they would recommend suggesting to another company where I'd be a good fit? Great question. I don't see why not. You know, once they've made a decision to go in a different direction, now here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say to them, why the heck didn't you hire me? I'm the best candidate. You made a bad decision. You're going to regret this. I'm not going to, you know, bury myself with my sword on the hill right there at that moment. You know, what I might do, if someone takes the time to call me back or shoot me a personal message to say, you know, Derek, we've decided to go in a different direction with someone else. Thank you for the application process. Thank you for your time. If I got that message or someone called me and told me, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the following to them in an email response. You know, dear John, thanks so much for taking the time to reach back out to me. I appreciate it. This has been a great learning experience for me. In the future, please consider me for other opportunities within your company. I'd love to ask, if you have the time, if you could offer me some feedback on what was impressive about me in the interview and what I could do to improve my interview process. If you do me that honor, I would feel it would mean the world. Thanks so much for your time, and I wish you the best. That's kind of the message or the gist of the message I might send, because at that point, if already I've not been hired, as long as I don't give them attitude and tell them they're a bad hiring person, that they're bad, as long as I don't do that, I think you can ask pretty much anything at that point, because it's a no. It's a no. All you can do is learn from a no. A no is not a personal thing that's bad. A no is actually good. It gives you certainty that you're not hired. It gives you permission to move on to the next one, right? So if I get a no, then I don't think there's anything bad at all about reaching back out to them and ask them a question. Let's just say that Jack reached back out to me. I got Jack on the phone right now, and Jack says, Matt, I just want to reach back out. I told you I'd reach out. I wanted to tell you that we hired someone else. Oh, Jack, I'm sorry to hear that, but I just want to tell you, I really respect that you had the courage to reach out to me. Thank you. It's meaningful that you took the time to reach out. Can I ask you a couple questions, Jack, before we hang up about my interview performance, if that's okay? You know, and he could say no. Okay, oh, I understand you're busy. Thanks so much for your time, and then it's done. You know, or he could say, sure, go ahead. You know, I might ask, what's one thing I did well? What's one thing I can improve on? Thank you so much, Jack, for all that feedback. Thank you. Jack, based on the interview, it feels like we did good, but it feels like you made a decision to hire a different candidate because they impressed you more. I totally respect that. but based on your experience with me in the interview, is there anyone else in your company, or is there any other company that's hiring that I might be a good fit for that you could introduce me to, Jack? I don't think it's out of bounds to ask that. I've gotten sales deals from people like that before. When they were in a long-term contract, they couldn't break it to hire me and as a coach. And I asked them, well, I feel that we might have an opportunity in the future, but right now, based on our experience, I think it's been pretty good. Is there anyone you could recommend me to in a coaching capacity I could have a conversation with? And I've gotten clients from that before. So to answer the question that was typed, yes, I think you can ask anything. I don't think anything's off the table at that point. Once you got to know, there's no more pressure anymore. Ask them for feedback and ask them if they can refer you to someone, but don't be a jerk about it, because people will have that jerk taste in their mouth forever. It's hard to get the stain of a jerk out of your reputation. But if you're a learner and you're genuinely curious about hearing feedback, and you do it with an enthusiasm and a vigor that shows you genuinely want to get better and that you genuinely care, you'll win long term. Play that over time, you'll win long term. Good question. Any other questions we have here, team? Any other questions we have right now? I'd love to answer if you have any more. Any other? It's 3:11. We've been going at it for a while. I gotta say, I appreciate everyone's paying attention and focus. I think that we've only had 2 people drop off. So either we're getting some value out of this, or some people fell asleep, or okay, good. That's good. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. I love a good clap. That was a golf clap too. Did you know I was a golfer? Yeah, you're paying attention. That's good. Okay, good. See, here's the thing. And I saw a couple smiles there, and I love to see smiles, because a smile is a great way to build a connection and a rapport with people. So my thought here is that people don't always hire the person that's most qualified on paper, but people will genuinely, if they like you, they will tend to give you the benefit of the doubt more often than if you're just someone they don't like, right? So do your best to like them and connect with them. It's more difficult to do that in a group setting like this, because we're not really connecting one-on-one. Like, I could talk to Elaine about that beautiful view that I know she's looking at to her right out there, because I know she's got a great view where she lives, and whoever that person was that was on the phone for a brief moment that showed that palm tree up in the sky on their iPhone, I could probably talk about that for sure. Or I could talk to Andrew about how he reached out to me last week and proactively connected. And in fact, I do want to talk to you, Andrew. I'm going to reach out to you. I may have an opportunity for you here within CoreNet and the organization. So in any event, I'd say this, that I could talk forever, right? I would say, let's just go back to the questions. I'm starting to get off track. I can ramble sometimes. I appreciate your patience, friends. Let's go to the next question here. What was the biggest mistake someone made? Oh, man. Mistakes that people made. Here's the biggest mistake you can ever make in an interview, is to talk smack about your current boss. Don't talk smack about anybody in an interview. If you want to actually do that, you can do that gracefully. Like, if someone says, I'll give you the best example. If you talk smack about how bad a boss is, I've heard this on quite a few times. If someone says to me that I can't stand my boss, they were a micromanager. Well, when you say micromanager, what does that mean? I think if you ever air any dirty laundry, that opens up them to ask you a lot of questions. Dirty laundry means I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm going to get into the weeds, and I'm going to pull something out of you don't want me to pull out of you. So I would rather go on a different note. If you didn't like your current or last boss, someone asks, why are you leaving the company you're at? A way you might frame that is, well, I've learned a lot from this company, and I respect and love all my teammates. I feel that I'm going to have a greater opportunity to learn when I move to a different leadership style or move to a different company, because I feel that my time here, even though it's been well spent, I feel it's time to move on to something that's a greater challenge. No. So that might be a place, it might be a statement to make, but the biggest mistake is airing dirty laundry about your current boss or current team. Don't air dirty laundry. I mean, I'm not gonna be false and hide things ever. I'll always be direct. If someone asks me a direct question, what do you think about your current boss? If I didn't like my current boss, then I might say something like this. One of the more endearing qualities of the current boss I learned, they have taught me a lot of patience. They have taught me how to be patient. They have taught me the benefits and the value of being organized in my communication skills. That's how I might say something. If someone asks, what do you not like about your boss? I would reframe it as, I've learned some great things, and here they are. All right, that's a big mistake. Another big mistake you might make is to show up late for the interview and blame it on traffic. First of all, we can't do that right now. You can't say it's traffic right now, so that's a BS excuse at the moment. But if you show up late and say it was the internet, well, that's why it's good to practice these skills, because if you waited till the last minute to click the link for this calendar invite and your internet was down, then you missed the point that if you dial in on the phone, you could have been early, right? So knowing how to use the technology is important. So don't use your internet technology as a scapegoat. You know, I don't think it was Elaine that was on that call with me, but I literally had this call. I was running a webinar last month, had like 100 people on it. Actually, it was like a couple hundred people on it, and my internet went down for 8 minutes. At the very beginning, it was a 7 o'clock presentation. It went down at 7:01. What happens to you in an interview if your internet goes down, or if your mom comes in the background, or your boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse comes in, or the kids come in, or the dogs come in? What happens if that happens? The worst mistake you can make right there is, Mom, keep it down. I'm on the phone. Can't you see? Jeez. That would be a mistake. That would be a mistake. Yelling at your mom and your kids is a mistake in the first place, my friends. So anyways, what are some methods to find good connections other than through alumni? Methods to find good connections other than through alumni. Well, where do we start? Okay, let me just name off a few that come to mind. If you go to church, church is a great place. If you've ever been involved in Habitat or any community service, that's a great place. You can go to, let's just say you're at the College of Charleston and you don't want to go through the College of Charleston and find it. If you go to a gym, you can call the gym owner and ask what kind of groups you can get involved in there. You can go to LinkedIn, and there are groups out there for LinkedIn for people that want to be in real estate, that are in corporate real estate. I think that, once again, you know, I am trained back in the day in the 90s, in the late 90s, when we didn't have the ability to email people yet. You know, at that time, it was all just you have to pick up a phone or write a letter. Picking up the phone is what we did. So there were times I would literally make like 250 or 300 phone calls in a day. I would go and find a list. I'll never forget this. Back in 1998, in the summer when I got that job selling knives right before I graduated, I met a lady at the Spartanburg Country Club named Betsy McAllister. Her husband, John, I think he might still be the pro there. I met her, did a presentation for her, and we got along famously. I played golf with her kids in college, and you know, I was at her house doing the presentation, and I noticed there was a country club directory right over there. And back then they had directories, actually little books printed. I asked her, hey, Betsy, I won't call everyone on here, but if you let me make a copy of that and highlight a few names, I'd love to make a copy. And she said, sure, go ahead. So I made a copy of it and then she highlighted like 30 names of people on there for me to call and said, use her name. You know, I want to find people that I can get referred to and drop someone's name. It adds instant credibility. But if I'm looking to figure out ways to get involved, if I'm in your shoes, my friend, I'm going straight to LinkedIn, InMails, and I'm going to reach out to people that way. And if I run out of the ability to send InMails, I think there's a certain number you can send every month, then I'm going to go on Facebook and try to get them. I'm going to go on Twitter and try to find them. I'm going to go on Instagram and try to find them and DM them. You know, I'm going to go and look at their company directory online at their website, and I'm going to write handwritten letters to people. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get in front of that person and stand out from the crowd. And those are some of the more commonly known but not effectively utilized techniques, right? When I was going through back in the day, it was Monster and Career Builder and even Amazon were the ways back in the late 90s, early 2000s to go and find jobs, right? I don't even know if those companies or any of those really exist anymore in finding jobs. I think Indeed is a big one out there nowadays. I don't know. I don't recruit that way anymore. I recruit through the personal network now. But I would say that if you're going to go through any of those methods that I mentioned, you know, I would try to go through and find out the person's information and connect with them directly. If you're not able to get a personal connection with them and an introduction to them, connect with them directly through any of those social media ways or by writing them a letter and stand out. That'd be my advice. During a time like this, is a cover letter or a resume more important to a hiring manager? I think it depends on each person, each hiring manager. They're all different. There was a phase in my career when I got tired of reading the BS on cover letters because it all sounded the same to me. I went straight to the resume and looked for details. I wanted to know details. Did this person take pride in their job? You can tell if they take pride in their job by the details they put in their resume. That person that I gave you the example of waiting tables, all the specific details they put in there. Now that may be to a crazy degree, like this ADD degree. Well, guess what? That really connected with me. I was looking for something that was different than just the general vanilla resume. You know, so something that can get in front of them that has a little bit of your personality to it. If it's cover letter, if it's a really strong resume, or if it's the delivery method by which you're able to get it to them. Now, I realize that many of you probably don't have like infinite budgets to be able to FedEx a package to someone and send Willy Wonka golden chocolate bars with their names stenciled on them, all that kind of stuff. If we're talking like simple, free, or minimal budget ways to connect with people, there's no better way that I know than through a friend, right? First, go through friends. And second, I would try to go through social media in some way, shape, or form. This is a tough one because a lot of people say to me, Matt, I don't know anyone. I don't know how to find a job. Well, I didn't know who would hire me as a coach. I didn't know who needed a listening ear, but I still reached out to those 900 plus people in the last month through my network just to check in on them. And as a result, I had a lot of great conversations, people that needed it. I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea there's a person who owns a significant size company who was going to break down crying on the phone saying they were afraid of webcams and that they were afraid they were letting their people down. They weren't leading them well enough. I mean, you never know what people are willing to share in a private conversation. I can say this, though. I wouldn't have known if I didn't reach out. And you won't know if you don't reach out. So reach out to everyone in your personal network. Let them know. Trumpet it from a mountain. You're looking for a job. You're getting into the real world workforce. Let them know how you're doing. You know, if there's anxiety around it, what they might think about it. Well, they may not be the most important person in the world if they don't respond, because the important people probably will respond. You know, and at some point, all of us, myself included, have got to get over the fear we have of the judgment of others. You know, and if that's holding you back, please reach out to me one-on-one, because that's crippling for a lot of people in this job search. So anyways, keep going. Cover letter or hiring or resume more important. I think I just shared some feedback on that one. Guys, we got about 6 or 7 minutes to go if you want to use it. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to unmute everyone. So if you'd like to ask any question or have anything you'd like to say, then please, we can finish in a conversation, finish in that, and then we will wrap things up here. And before I do that, I had to say this. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been my pleasure and privilege to be able to speak to you. Thank you for listening to me and giving me your ear for this last 90 minutes. It means the world to me. And it would mean the world to me even more if you were to come to me on social media and follow me, connect with me. I'd be happy to offer any free advice. I'm not looking for clients today. I'm looking to offer as much value as I possibly can. So if anyone wants anything else, then now's the time to ask or connect me one-on-one and ask. I'd love to connect with any one of you. So I did live stream all of this on my Facebook page, my Facebook business page. So you can check it out there and connect with me there. Team, it's been my privilege and pleasure. Let me unmute all and see if we have any more questions. What do I like to do when I'm not working? Play golf, of course. Play with kids, play golf. Sidewalk chalk is a great one nowadays. I'm training to run a marathon, so that's been fun. You know, exercising. And Julie, my wife, and I, we used to watch the show Lego Masters. It was our favorite Wednesday night show. I used to be a Lego kid growing up, so that was a fun show. We're watching Money Heist right now on Netflix. Not during the daytime, not during revenue producing time, but at night we're watching Money Heist. That's been really fun. And of course, I like a good bottle of red wine. So that's it. And this is water, by the way, to the best of your knowledge. This is water. Okay, so let's unmute all. If anybody has any questions or thoughts, we can do that. You're all unmuted now. Any last thoughts, questions?
I have a question. So when you're asked like in an interview about this time of like just really like there is a decent amount of downtime and like very unusual, what's like the wrong thing to respond when they ask like what did you do during this time?
The wrong thing to say. What did you do during this time? The wrong thing to say. Well, if the role you're playing, Samuel, is I'm looking for a job, if that's the role that you're playing, job seeker, and you say to someone that I've been watching a lot on Netflix, catching up on my Friends, catching up on Lost. Those are old shows. You may not even know about those shows. Catching up on TV. I don't know if that paints the picture that you want to paint. I don't know if there's really a wrong thing to say. I can tell you what some of the right things to say might be. I can say that one of the right things might be, I've taken some time and really looked at the things I may have taken for granted. And I've spent a lot of quality time with my family. And I think that's about as genuine. I've heard that a lot. I've taken some time and I've looked at the areas of my life that I said to myself, I should be doing better at that. Like my physical fitness or my nutrition or the time I spent with my parents or my spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, pets, things of that nature. I've taken some time in that. I've taken some time and, I've read a couple books that I wanted to read, and I've worked on myself, trying to improve myself. Those are some things. Those are some things that you might say. See, that's why I like to mute all. There's a phone going on back there. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you so much. I think this is very, very good and very useful, and I hope the students that did get online have taken some really good things from this. I have great notes. I felt it was very, very productive. So, Matt, I did want to make sure we recognize that we really appreciate you taking this time to help the students of the college, and hopefully they will take you up on your LinkedIn offers and use some of these great strategies, because I do think you've come up with some really good ones for them.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Elaine,
taking time to do this for us.
You're most welcome. Thank you, team. Much appreciated. I wish all of you the best. Reach out if you have any feedback for me. Reach out if I can provide any guidance. Thanks so much for playing all in today. Much appreciated. I'm going to sign off now. I wish you all the best. Have a great day, team.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again. Bye-bye
Take
now.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.